Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Chats and Graps. As always, I'm your host, Lyric Swain, and I'm super excited because obviously, if you've been following my work, been talking a lot about New Japan this year. Got to release a really great article about Black wrestlers in New Japan, and somebody was in it, aka Lio Rush, and now having him on the pod. So that's super cool. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing good now that I'm talking to you.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
So yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
Great. So, without any further ado, let's start at the beginning because I feel like 2023 has been a very, very big and I would say transformational year for you specifically as a wrestler and as an athlete. And so, I want to know, what were you thinking coming into this year? What was the mark that you were planning to leave? What were your original anticipations of like what you were going to do, who you were going to be? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, 2023, man, what a year. But this year, I fully had my sights set on being in New Japan Pro Wrestling and being in Japan while being a part of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Um, Plans shifted here and there due to injuries and visa issues and things of that nature. So I was able to travel all around the world, not just be in Japan, which I highly enjoyed. It was definitely probably one of the most fulfilling years that I've had in wrestling. I wrestled in New Japan. I wrestled in damn near every top independent promotion in America, in the UK. So it was a pretty fulfilling year for me. But my sights were definitely set on being in Japan for New Japan Pro Wrestling for 2023.
I think that's a perfect segue. So getting into that, so I remember you coming to Japan and you made this huge splash. And I think specifically the match that really like changed everything was the first match versus Hiromu Takahashi. And I was like, oh wow, like you not playing this shit like, at all. Like
Oh,
he's not playing. And so that was even before Best of the Super Juniors, which I feel like really just catapulted you on a whole completely different level. And so, talk a little bit about this New Japan run, in its totality, because I really feel like you did things that I had not seen before, not just in the ring, but just as far as enrapturing like that Japanese audience and really having them get invested in you. And I also think that you brought the best out of, I think, Hiromu Takahashi, who has been like, the face of the junior division for such a long time, to the point to where it's almost like he has to go through the same challengers, again and again and again. But I feel like you really pushed him. And I think that it just, the entire junior division in New Japan has just really benefited as a result of your presence this year.
yeah, I would hope so. I would hope so. Um, Yeah, sorry, I'm taking a moment to kind of just reflect on everything because it has been such a wild year for me, and especially with being in Japan and wrestling Hiromu, I would definitely say Hiromu has been probably my greatest rivalry since I've wrestled. Um, yeah, and I think that's my first time actually saying that. I think before I would normally say if somebody would ask me who's my greatest rival in wrestling, I would say like Angel Garza from my time in WWE or Joey Janela from my time on the independent circuit. But I think this new chapter for me with being in Japan and being a part of New Japan Pro Wrestling, Hiromu's definitely been somebody that has tested me as a professional wrestler, and I think I've tested him as well. I know you said that he's been wrestling the same guys, and I know it's been absolutely boring. He needed a new contender, so I'm glad that I was able to step up. I'm glad that I was able to bring that excitement to not only our matches, but just New Japan overall. Uh, you know, being in New Japan has been absolutely incredible. Not only a great wrestling experience, but just a great life experience in general. Being able to go back and forth from America to Japan and spend months at a time there, and fully engulf myself into the culture and try to connect with the people as much as I can, which I believe that I did successfully. And yeah, it was a great time.
So, diving a little bit deeper. So, the best of the Super Juniors specifically, you had some excellent matches, I would say, with just about everybody. The crowd was really on your side. You were putting in consistent performances, I think, night after night after night. In my opinion, I think that the best of Super Juniors tournament ended up being better than the G1, to be quite honest. But um as it relates to New Japan, obviously you didn't end up being able to be a part of that three-way match with Hiromu and Speedball. And so, what does your future look like with New Japan? Because I feel like you still have some unfinished business, but what do you feel about your future in New Japan specifically?
Yeah, it's I would say that it's complicated. There's a lot of factors that come into play. Uh, I You would think that I have some unfinished business in New Japan, and I would think so too. But things don't always work out the way that we hope. Um, to be completely honest with you, I'm a little lost. I'm a little stuck with New Japan. I don't know where I go from here with them. I'm currently not under contract. I haven't been under contract, and I've expressed that I want to be under contract uh, in order to continue to go back and forth the way that I was going back and forth. Um, it it's a lot. It's a lot to think about just because of the situation that it left me in. I sacrificed a lot to get to Japan. I sacrificed a lot to go to Japan as often as I did. So now I feel like I'm in a situation where, um, the ball is in their court. You know, I think that I've fully um, put everything that I had into being there, and they know that, and I know that they have interest in being in me being there as well. But I think ultimately it comes down to, um, you know, do you see me there long term?
Mm.
Uh, because I've I've been not under contract for quite some time now, and that was my decision. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to explore different opportunities, but I think I've been in a situation, in a position where I want to be in one place. I want to be exclusive to one company. So if that is in the plans for New Japan, then it would be in the plans for me. So I guess it's just a waiting game at this point.
I think that what you're expressing is something that I feel like a lot of it foreigners in New Japan have expressed of just like I think Aussie Open said something similar of like wanting to be in New Japan, but like the inconsistency of not being able to have like a stable like salary or a stable job, or it makes it hard to like envision yourself somewhere long term if the contract isn't like lined up. And so I do believe that you offer a lot to New Japan. Like I've said this, I think you've said this, like that moment of after your match, I believe with Taiji Ishimori, of like a family offering their like newborn to you, like that's Tanahashi levels of love. Like very few people, like natives. I've seen like, there are like long-term stalwarts here in Japan who don't get that type of love and admiration. And you on one tour, people are like, take my newborn baby.
It was intense. It was definitely intense. But I feel at the same time it didn't shock me because, by that point, I think I've been to Japan maybe a good two or three times. I would say probably about three times, and every single time they've seen me pour my heart and soul into everything that I've done with being over there. They saw how much I respect their culture, how much I respect the people, how much I respect the sport. They've seen me talk about my family. They've seen me bawl my eyes out, crying backstage and in front of them in the ring. So it didn't surprise me too much when. Uh, well, I'm not gonna say it didn't surprise me too much because who expects a baby to be passed to them? But yeah, you know what I mean. Like I said, I think the ball is in New Japan's court. I don't know what else I can do to express how much I want to be there. So yeah, 2024 is going to be an interesting year for sure.
I remember when I spoke to Kevin Kelly, he was saying that it was even more influential when you think about the fact that Japanese are very like anti tattoos and all that. Like they're just with people with tattoos and different things, and for them to embrace you like that, like they are like, we don't care. Like we just love this guy, and I think that it just shows of just how wrestling can transcend like all sorts of cultural barriers, all sorts of language barriers, um, racial barriers, all sorts of things like that. And so, um, I hope that New Japan, realizes what they have with you, because I think that the junior division specifically has been one of the strongest parts of the New Japan product this year, and specifically your performances. But you mentioned 2024. Are there any other places who might be on your horizon of where you want to go, what you want to do? Like, because I feel like this was a very huge year for you, but I feel like you can only build on that with a talent like yours. So what does 2024 look like tentatively? Any short term goals that you're looking to accomplish?
I think you should expect the unexpected with me at this point. I feel like I've done it all. I've been everywhere, and I think at this point, like I said, I am looking for a home. I'm trying to find where home is because I currently don't have one, figuratively and literally. So it is going to be, like I said, a very interesting year for me in 2024 because, to be quite honest with you, I'm open to any and all possibilities. Um, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I think people saw that in 2023. That I don't mess around. you know,
No.
I don't mess around. And when I say that I want something, and when I say that, uh, you know, when I say that I am hungry, you better believe I'm gonna eat. So it's gonna be an interesting year for me in 2024. Whoever decides to knock on my door, I'll be waiting. Whether that's New Japan, whether that is WWE, whether that is MLW, whether that is AEW, whether that is who else is out there? Man, so
CMLL?
many, so many, so many people. CMLL,
Yeah.
CMLL. I haven't had the best experiences.
Oh, okay, my
If
fault.
I'm being honest, if I'm being honest with you, I haven't had the best experiences in Mexico, personally. So I'm not too much in a rush to get to Mexico.
Gotcha.
But like I said, if somebody knocks on the door, I'll open it and I'll be willing to have that conversation.
Yeah, I was just about to ask that. Were you interested in possibly revisiting places that you've already been? Because I feel like the talent that you were back then is feels almost night and day to who you are right now when you originally, appeared in some of these places like a WWE or AEW. I feel like it's really like you've always had like the raw talent, but I feel like the pieces really came together this year with just the aura, like the bad child, like it really everything kind of clicked. And so I feel like even if you manage to revisit some of these places, it feels like almost a completely different person. And I think that just speaks to how much you've evolved as a performer.
Most definitely, most definitely. I think I've evolved so much. I think I've evolved so much that it scares me at times, because you know I think experience is everything. And if it's one thing that I do have, it's experience. Regardless of my age, regardless of how long I've been doing it, I've been around, and I think I've done exceptionally well at the things that I've put my mind to. So, um, yeah, I'm ready. I don't think I've ever been more ready in my life, to be completely honest with you. So, like I said, whether that is New Japan Pro Wrestling, whether that is WWE, whether that is AEW, um, they're gonna have one hell of a talent on their hands. I promise you.
Absolutely. So switching gears a little bit, I noticed that when you made this big shift, and I would say probably since Junior Tag League last year, you're very much so an artist in addition to being a wrestler, you're a musician. Like you pay very close attention to like your fashion and like your music and just your presentation. So when you were building this iteration of yourself that we've seen in 2023, what were some of the things that you were thinking of? What are some of the things that inspired you with the look? I think one thing that I found that was super cool was I was actually at All Star Junior Fest this year, and then like on the All Star Junior Fest, you have one entrance music and one type of presentation, and then the next night at United, you have a whole different entrance music and a whole different presentation on back-to-back nights, which I felt really spoke to your versatility as a performer. So, what are some of those things as you're building this iteration of yourself? What were you thinking of?
I think that I wanted to come across as my most authentic self, and I think I wanted to really showcase that I'm an artist. I think that's who I am at my core. I think I'm an artist. I think I'm an entertainer. And when I combine the two, you know, it. And this is something that I've recently been thinking about, and I think this is why I wanted to do these interviews because this is helping me too. I'm still processing everything that's happened this year. I'm still processing, uh, you know, where I want to go and how I want to present myself. And I think wrestlers tend to overthink how they should present themselves. And I think that everybody is different. Everybody is different in their own way. And I feel like if you just be yourself, uh, then you will stand out. You will be as unique as you want to be. Um, I try not to study and watch a lot of things because I don't want to be influenced by a
Mm.
lot of things. I want to feel how I feel in the moment. I want to bring off uh, how I feel. Like you said, the first show, the All Star Junior Festival. I believe I wore black and red gear, and that was the gear that I wore when I first came back from my first shoulder injury after AEW. And I believe that this was also my first time back in the ring after a minor injury. So that was kind of just like me paying homage to myself in a way of like, okay, I feel comfortable in this gear. I was thinking about it the entire time, like, man, what should I wear for this All Star Junior Festival? And I knew that I was coming back after an injury, and I thought about, what was I wearing the last time that I came back from injury, uh, and what made me feel the most confident and comfortable. And I decided to throw on that gear, and I decided to come out to that entrance music. And then for the Multi Universe United, um, I decided to switch it up a little bit because I was bringing off an entirely different energy with Impact. Funny thing, uh, yeah, Impact. I was playing a heel role, and for the All Star Junior Festival for New Japan, I was playing a babyface role. So that's why I decided to come out and with different music and a different persona and just bring off a different energy. It's always making people feel something when you come out. So I wanted people to feel the differences between the two, and that's why I decided to kind of switch it up a little bit.
I feel like it really did come across because I think that specifically when you wrestle, when you come out, like you said, it is an energy transfer. Like I feel like you have a way of connecting with audiences to where I feel your energy. Like when you are in the middle of that ring and you start yelling, I'm like, let's go. Like, let's go. Like, you really feel it. And I think this year, seeing you, one, you came off of Best of Super Juniors and like you're like this beloved baby face in Japan, and then you go on this Impact run and like you're just an asshole. And I'm like, oh wow, this is duplicity. I like just being able to switch between the two. So how was that Impact run for you this summer? But being X Division champion, I feel like you really got to show a different side of yourself in that time period.
It was amazing. It was amazing. I absolutely loved it. I loved being able to be put in a position to shine like that. Um, the last time that I was a champion of that nature was when I was WWE Cruiserweight champion. So I was super excited to be able uh, to do that again, but this time being a heel. When I was cruiserweight champion, I was a babyface. So being able to be a heel champion was pretty fun, pretty cool, and exciting. And it was also pretty unexpected because I went into Impact with the notion of, okay, I'm gonna do exactly what I'm doing in New Japan, but for whatever reason, Impact wanted me to be a heel while I was working in New Japan, and they were working with New Japan at the same time. So it was a little confusing um, on you know how how are we working together, but you want me to be something different. But thinking about it, I was fully up for the challenge because I haven't been, like I said, I haven't been a heel in a very long time, and I wanted to test myself. I wanted to try to have as much fun with it as possible. I knew being a heel, I'd have a lot more mic time, I'd have a lot more promo time, so I wanted to try to utilize, that and take advantage of that. So, when I do go back to Japan, I'm talking so much in in America on TV. And then I know when you go to Japan, there's such a highlight on those backstage
Yep.
post match promos. So yeah, I was pretty excited to be able to do both at the same time. I think it just helped me overall, and I feel like it showed. I feel like it really showed my in ring. I feel like I've never been as comfortable as I've been inside of the ring during that time period, as well as on the mic. I was always wrestling and I was always talking, so it was a good experience.
I've really enjoyed your post match interviews, I would say, specifically during Best of Super Junior, because it felt very raw, very real. You can tell that you weren't just cutting a promo or something like like you can tell like those were very real emotions. And I feel like that's something that you've been able to do, I think, this year, really connect with people. And then like even in like with Impact, having that mic time, you were able to transition very seamlessly. And so obviously with a big reboot scheduled for the beginning of 2024, is TNA one of the places that you would consider, possibly wrestling in?
I think so. Well, I don't think so. I know so. But like I said, it all comes down to that contract. It all
Mhm.
comes down to a deal. I know everybody is pretty happy right now, wrestling everywhere and being there and everywhere. But like I said, I'm looking for something a little different. I'm looking for stability. I'm looking for exclusivity, um, and I'm looking for somebody who appreciates my talents and really wants to invest in me. Not just in the ring, but financially too. I mean, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we got to get paid. Especially me. I've got three kids and three boys, so I need to be there for them in every way possible. So, like I said, it all comes down to whoever wants to lock down an actual deal with me, and I'll be ready. I'll be prepared like I always am.
You talked about being a father. What has that balance been like between being a family man and this tour, this world tour that you've been on this year?
It's been extremely hard. extremely difficult. Like I said, I've sacrificed a lot, and I said this a lot in my backstage
Mhm.
promos. Like you said, those post match promos coming off real and raw. That because they were. I talked about um, being away from my family and wanting to provide and wanting to be there for them or them being with me in Japan. So everything that I did this year was to be able to create uh, a stable situation for my family. It's definitely rough. I've got a 2-year-old who isn't in school, who can't afford to get on the road here or there. But I've also got a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old that needs to be in school that has to be home. So a lot of the time I'm not able to see them. All of that time that you see me on the road, all that time that you see me on TV in Japan, that's time that I don't have with my kids, and that's pretty rough for me because um, I'm not getting any younger, and they're not, and they're getting older. They're getting into years where they need me to be there. I remember, when I was 10, going into 12, going into 14 years old, and just going through some really rough times, just as a teenager, just as a kid, and you know, having my father there, having my mom there. Um, so it kind of kills me a little bit that I'm not there as much as I want to be. So, everything that I do is for my family, literally everything. I've done everything for me. I said I wanted to be a wrestler. I'm a wrestler. I said I wanted to be in WWE. I made it to WWE and I won a title. That's blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. So at this point, you know, uh, I've done it all. I've seen it all. But now I'm in a position where uh, I'm wanting a home and I want to create a stable situation for my family. So that's my mission for 2024.
So, in addition to being a wrestler and being a father, you're also an artist, and you've been dropping some new music this year. So, what is that? What is music? What is the role that music plays in your life? Like, how does Lio Rush, the artist, inform so many of the other things that you do?
I think it kind of trumps everything. I think it is such a huge part of me that people, and maybe they do realize it, but it is such a huge part of me because I feel like music is how I was able to express myself the way that uh, I'm kind of expressing myself right now. I honestly didn't know how to communicate my emotions. I didn't know how to communicate with people and tell people how I feel and why I feel the way that I feel. So I feel like when I found my voice with music, um, it kind of changed everything. Uh, Music is such a huge part of my life. It controls how I feel. It controls how I move. It controls how I think and how I speak. So it's pretty cool that I'm able to intertwine the music with the wrestling and that kind of being showcased through my fashion and through my entrance and everything else. So it's music is definitely a huge part of me. It's probably a bigger part of me than I realize. I always thought that I was such like this mega athlete my entire life, but little that I know, I just had music pumping in my ear since I was a little kid. So it always feels like it is kind of engulfing
Mhm.
me. So yeah, music is a huge part of my life.
I've noticed specifically this year, I've seen so many black wrestlers really hone in on that authenticity piece of just like, you know what, I'm going to make my own music, I'm going to make my own look. Like, how do you feel about this current landscape specifically for, black wrestlers just really being themselves. I feel like historically, black wrestlers have always been had, they're typecast in certain roles, but I think we're starting to see people like break out of that box and you being one of them. So how do you feel about this current landscape for black wrestling?
I think it's amazing. I think it's absolutely amazing. I definitely feel like this is something that we should have been doing a very long time ago. Maybe we didn't really know how to present that or show that off, but I'm super excited to see the authenticity of black wrestlers and the confidence in black wrestlers. Just fully being themselves. You know, and not only showcasing their abilities, but saying it verbally. I think owning who you are and telling people who you are and what you do and how you're going to do it, and um, it's amazing. I think the confidence level has grown exceptionally, and I think a lot of people are saying that. Um, we've got a lot more to offer than just our athleticism, and I think it's amazing to see.
I think you hit on a really great part there about the confidences, because I feel like I think up to this point there's always been, I guess, and I guess like a, how do I say it, expecting black wrestlers to be grateful for what they're given, to just simply be grateful, to be in the room. And I think this year we're seeing people in just about every promotion call their shot and say, no, like, I'm the best in the world. I can be the champion of your company, your company, your company, your company. Of just, it's a certain level of, I don't want to say it audacity because the talent is 100% there, but it's just like a certain level of really knowing yourself and saying, like, I'm not just the best black wrestler in the world. I think that I'm the best wrestler in the world. Like, that confidence in calling your shot. Why do you feel like maybe that hasn't happened up to this point? A lot of times of people just being honest about just their intentions and just being able, not caring what people think, just saying like, I'm him, period.
Because I feel like we didn't really have role models
Mm.
in the past who have said that. Um, that's just what I feel. I can't remember, and I don't remember, um, a black wrestler saying that they're the best wrestler in the world and really calling their shot. Before our generation or before you know our century or whatever the case may be. I don't remember it. I think just what you said, um, and it is a generational thing. But I think our generation, we see our value, we see our worth, and we see what we can bring to the table, and we're not afraid to say what we can bring to the table. Especially not me. I think having people like me publicly saying, you know, hey, you can't touch me. When it comes to that in-ring work, you can't touch me. When it comes to those promos, you can't touch me. When it comes to the work ethic, you can't touch me. You can't. It's just a confidence thing, and it's believing in yourself. And if you have somebody that you look up to who's saying that, then maybe you'll find it within yourself to say, "Oh man, maybe it's okay to talk my shit a little bit. It's okay to be myself and be comfortable with it and not being afraid to get slapped in the back of the head for saying it. Like no, no, fuck it, fuck that. Sorry, sorry for my
No,
language,
go ahead. No, you can.
but
Yeah.
but no, the time, no, that time has passed.
For me as a creator, I will say I don't think that I would be writing, podcasting if it wasn't for this group of, I would say, Black wrestlers, specifically, like, of course, like we've seen people in WWE before, but in like these hardcore wrestling spaces of like not just being like just like, you know, a spectacle, but like these are the best wrestlers in the world, period. And I think I have been so inspired of just to write about it, to notate it, because I truly feel like we are in the midst of history right now, and I think that, you know, it should be talked about, it should be celebrated, and it's been very inspiring for me personally. Just as I'm not even like an actual wrestler, but the work that you're doing and like so many others are doing, of just saying like, no, I'm not waiting my turn. Like, what is waiting my turn? What does that even mean? Like, no, I want it all. Like, and because, you know, our counterparts do it every day. Like, you know, say like, I want this and this and this. I expect to be world champion by next week, etc. And you know, hey, you gotta, they half the time they'll manifest it. And you know, so I've really been inspired, I would say, about the by the confidence of so many of you all. But outside of wrestling next year, do you have any goals that you're looking to fulfill specifically in 2024, aside from wrestling?
Besides wrestling, I'd love to do, and you know, I think I've got quite a few things. But for one, I'd love to do more music shows. I'd like to free up some time to perform my music a lot more than I have in the past, and possibly, with wrestling, being involved. I see it happening. The seeds have been planted throughout the years of wrestling culture and hip hop culture, or just music culture in general, the two worlds kind of coming together. I think it'll ultimately get to a point where you're starting to see a lot more wrestlers perform at music shows, which I'd love to see. Um, I think wrestling fans would like that experience too, if done correctly. Uh, um, but
That's,
uh,
yeah.
but I want to travel to some countries that I've never been to before, um, like some really just unexpected off the wall countries that people just don't even really think about. I want to see the world. I feel like I've seen so much at being 29 years old, and I want to see more. So I want to do a lot more traveling. I want to be able to. I want to try new foods. That's one thing that I'd like to do. I think being in Japan so much has opened up my just willingness to try new things. So I want to continue to try new things. 2024, I want to continue to try new things. So yeah.
So I meant to ask you this earlier, but I didn't. But for 2024, I think this, well, specifically for 2023, I think that you got in front of a whole new opponent list, a whole different, you know, um, just a group of performers between New Japan, between Impact. So, is there anyone that you haven't faced, or anybody that you would like to face again that you possibly have your eye on in 2024 for a dream match?
I want to slap Vikingo around a little bit.
I would like to see that.
Yeah, yeah, that would be pretty cool. Yeah, he's somebody that I've been seeing a lot, and I think I said it publicly like once or twice early in the year. Um, but yeah, he's just exciting. He's just exciting to see. He's a very unexpected um, wrestler. You never know what he's going to do. So that's always fun to watch, and I think it'll be fun to have that match too. As far as other people, I mean, there's so many people, and I do plan on probably at the beginning of next year. I want to do my research a little bit more and put together a little list of people that I'd like to get in the ring with. But and maybe there's quite a few people that I haven't wrestled since my very first year wrestling, that I'd probably like to get back in the ring with. You know, I'm such a different wrestler than I was before, and I'm sure those people are too. But a guy like Will Ospreay, I've been seeing him everywhere. The last time I wrestled him, I was 20 years old. So yeah, I want the best. I'm not fucking around. I want the best wrestlers. Everybody who's saying they're the best wrestler in the world, put them in the ring with me. We'll see who the best wrestler in the world is.
Period. That's what we like to hear, and I feel like that's a great way to end it. Thank you so much, Leo. I really appreciate this interview. I appreciate the year that you've had, and I appreciate the work that you do. And I truly believe that 2024 is going to be your brightest year yet. And so I'm super excited to see everything that you're going to do. And honestly, it's time for these wrestling companies to back up the Brinks truck to your house. It's time for them to spend that cash.
Better pay up.
Pay up. You know, hey, we the Gross sisters from Proud Family out here got the hand out, so it's time. But thank you everybody for tuning into this interview, this episode of Chats and Graps. As always, I'm your host, Lyric Swinton. You can find me on social media at Lyric Wrestling on all the things, and then YouTube at Lyric Swinton. Anything that you want to plug for the people to know?
Please follow me on Instagram. I don't give a shit about Twitter. Please follow me on Instagram. I love my Instagram account. I love updating people on what I'm doing in my life, my personal life, and my my music journey, my wrestling journey, sometimes my food journey. Instagram is my main account that I like to use. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, please do that at I am Lio Rush.
Period. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and I will be back with more content as always. But until next time, happy holidays, everybody.